folk art must speak to people. That is part of what puts the folk in folk arts.
Art is storytelling. In July 2013, folk artists from around the world came together to tell the story of HIV and AIDS in their communities through their art. Basket weavers, tableau makers, sculptors, potters, and beadworkers were invited to exhibit their work in the Museum of International Folk Arts Gallery of Conscience in Santa Fe, New Mexico. My name is Tara Trudell, and I am Chicana and Native American. I am a single parent raising 4 children in northern New Mexico. My life is like a strand of beads that broke. I returned to school after my divorce to educate myself and study filmmaking to support my children. I was offered an opportunity to become a media intern to collaborate with the Gallery of Conscience. I readily accepted, thinking I was going to learn more techniques in film and audio by transforming the oral histories of the artists. The year-long exhibit, Let's Talk About This, Folk Artists Respond to HIV/AIDS, exemplifies how art and purpose can be intertwined. Little did I know how my life would be impacted by the artists. Lulama Sihlabeni, a South African beadworker, incorporates traditional beadwork to address current social issues in her community. It is through the beadwork that her community is able to unite and heal from the devastation of HIV and AIDS. Lulama's story is one of action and hope.
My name is Lulama Sihlabeni. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. As young girls of the village back in the Eastern Cape, we grew up doing beadwork as a hobby. Just to give you an idea of the village, there is no water, there is no electricity. Every activity of the day will be to fetch water from the rivers, to collect wood, to make up the fire to cook, and then we will end up with our grandmothers doing beadwork. I wanted to share my skill with the women in my township because in our community there's a lack of employment and women are the most people that are facing poverty. And I was always thinking of ways of ending that. Instead of those women relying to their husbands, each and every black woman knows how to do beadwork. But they didn't take it serious. They just took it as a hobby. They didn't know that at the end of the day, you can generate income.
Lulama left her comfortable job in the city to return to her township and work with her people at eKhaya eKasi, an art and education center, to improve conditions in literacy, health, and economic self-sufficiency for women and families.
eKhaya eKasi means home in the hood. We introduced women's skills program to the community of Makaza. It was a group of about 12 women, and some of these women are HIV positive, and they've always wanted their voice to be heard. We talked about this, as the theme of the folk art said, let's talk about this. We need to come up with a design that will be alarming to the people that AIDS can kill you if you don't look after yourself.
One day while recording in the Gallery of Conscience and listening to the artists talk, I took some buttons with photos of various folk art pieces currently in the Let's Talk About This exhibit. I realized that I do not talk about HIV and AIDS with my children, much less address it in my own life. When I handed the buttons out before dinner, my teenage daughters rolled their eyes and did not want to talk about it.
Everybody in the community is welcome to visit our center, and we get a good response from the community because people would come and they will ask, why are you making skeletons? And then that is giving us a chance to explain about HIV and AIDS to the community instead of distributing pamphlets, because people would sometimes just take the pamphlet and throw it in the trash. I can't really say our government is not doing enough and the Department of Health is not doing enough. But By inviting people to come to the center, they feel home. They feel more comfortable to talk about the virus. And our main issue is to educate those people. I remember one young man came to the center and he's got TB, he's drinking alcohol, smoking, and he couldn't take care of himself. And then he asked me a question: are you witches? Why are you making the ghosts, the skeletons? That gave me a good chance to explain to him. As somebody who's sick with HIV and TB, I explained this is where you will end up if you don't look after yourself. 2 days after that, he came to the center running. Thank you, Sis Lulama. You were so wonderful. I went to the clinic. I've quitted drinking. Here are my ARVs. I'm now taking my pills. I'm scared to become a skeleton.
I gave my 6-year-old son a button with an image of a beaded doll. I explained that this doll represented 3 million orphans in South Africa because their parents died from the disease AIDS. He listened intently. The next morning, as he was getting ready for school, I saw him carefully putting on his button, and he looked up at me and asked me, "Mom, how many people died?" In that moment, I felt our awareness strengthen.
People in my home country tend to think that people don't care about HIV and AIDS like people from other countries. But now I will come back with this information and still keeping in touch with all the people that were participating in the program, and then it will give them hope. I've learned that it's not just the issue in South Africa, it's everybody's problem. I always wanted to work with the community. That was my dream.
Wrapping up the week of interviewing the artists and documenting the workshops, I felt the purpose of returning to school was to not only gather skills to provide an income, but to teach my children that combining social awareness with art is a powerful tool to create change. I remembered that African beads were once used for currency and represented value. And as I restring my strand of beads, it has become vital to carefully choose the beads that matter to represent my creative worth to the world. They are more than mere shapes, colors, and sizes. Each string of beads not only holds traditions, values, and customs, but they can be used purposefully to get the message out about things that matter and that can be the catalyst for change.